what's that? Something just fell out of my copy of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Felicia.
Oh my God. What is it?
It's this weird notebook.
Yes.
And it contains these 2 chapters that I don't know where they came from. They're not from the original book. They're just weird. And they're also like written backwards on the page. Like handwritten backwards.
Crazy. That's
it's really
insane.
weird. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, like the Soviet Union's coming back or something. You know what I mean? Like they're having their like moment. Yeah. But then I realized it wasn't Russian. It was just like scribbled backwards. And so I had to get a mirror and I painstakingly transcribed it so that it's readable, legible.
Oh my God, that's incredible. That's a service you've done.
I know. And I'm broken from that experience. This dream contains 2 nightmares that I think we must share with our Wonka scholars. It would be, you know, there are certain things that some people try to censor out of history, but we can't ignore this.
Yeah,
we as a podcast cannot move forward without this. And so we will be reading and reviewing the deleted chapters from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory that Roald Dahl was told, no, bad Roald. Get that out of here.
So we're reporting on 2 of them. There are more of them. We're just reporting on 1 apiece today. So I'm taking on, the warming candy room. And Elaine, what do you got? You got Spotty Powder?
Spotty Powder.
Spotty Powder.
Which sounds really cute, doesn't it? Ooh,
oh
wow.
My God, Spotty Powder. That's incredible. So we have to unfortunately get back into Roald Dahl's writing, though I didn't have as much of a contempt for this as I did before.
Yeah, I highly enjoyed this in all the wrong ways.
Yeah, mine's insane from my experience. Like it's batshit. But before we dive deep into the big, I always say Wonka. Well, let's go Wonka Ocean. New metaphor, babes. New one. It's a Wonka Ocean. Oh my God.
We need to save our planet so our Wonka Ocean doesn't dry up or flood the entire land. But we want this
because if the Wonka Ocean dies up, we die in real life.
We turn into those little raisin people in The Little Mermaid.
Oh my God.
You know, we're all poor unfortunate souls here. Same.
But this week, it's a little bit more of an informal Wonka Watch because, like, Elaine, I don't have a news article. I'm just here. We're talking drag race. RuPaul's Drag Race. May the best drag queen win. That's right. Resident gay on the podcast here to give you your RuPaul's Drag Race report.
Thank you so much, Felicia, for filling in that gap.
RuPaul's Drag Race, it's known for its twists. It kind of, after I think about season 10, it hasn't been able to do a season without a twist. And literally everyone watching is like, we don't need a twist. We really don't. And RuPaul's like, oh, you said you wanted 3 twists. And it's like, no. We said none. We don't want any. She's like, this time, what if everybody goes home first, but then they all come back? And then at the end, okay, so here's what's going to happen. Oh, I need to get into this. So the twist this season are people go home in the first episode, then they come back in episode 3. Okay. 2 people gone home. They're back. Nothing matters. Nothing happened. Okay.
Drama.
During episode 3, there's 14 queens, and RuPaul's like, I want all of you to pick a chocolate bar. So they each go and grab a chocolate bar, and it's a magical chocolate bar. And there were a lot of references to like Candyland and chocolate bars throughout the promotion. And I'd read some spoilers to kind of like see what the fuck was going on.
Now, when you said you said they grabbed a magical candy bar, what do you mean by that? When they a magical chocolate bar?
Did I say magical?
Yes. I was like, does it mean they get like a free?
Upon elimination, each queen unwraps the candy bar. So do you know how RuPaul's Drag Race, how people get sent home? Do you know anything about it?
Sashay away.
Yes. Okay, good. There's a lip sync for your life and somebody gets sent home.
Yes.
So RuPaul tells them to sashay away. And then normally they just go off, they say their little exit line, they leave. And he says, but wait, let's see what the drag gods have to say. And then they open their chocolate bar and inside might be a golden ticket that saves them from elimination.
Stop. Shut the fuck up.
So So far, what has happened is no one has gotten the golden ticket, and 2 people have opened the chocolate bar, and they just have to open it and go, "It's chocolate," and then production plays a little womp womp sound. and then RuPaul goes, well, that's okay. And then they leave, and that's the end.
Do they have some good scenes of people being sad, but they're just like crying, eating their chocolate as they pack up?
Oh my God, that'd be incredible. Basically, most people's theories is that the chocolate bar is a way for production to save a queen who can't lip sync. kind of
Interesting.
Probably true, because they're like, RuPaul's like, you'll pick it at the beginning and we'll never touch it again. Wink, 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 wink.
Yeah.
And it's completely random who gets it. Yeah, that's just kind of the little informal Wonka Watch from me, gay correspondent Felicia. The gay correspondent makes it sound like it's a separate person who's not me that I brought in.
Wonka. That's just also, it seems nothing else is themed Wonka-esque, like chocolate.
No.
Like it's just like, you know what? They do their own thing. We'll have our own weird challenges, but just chocolate.
It's literally just a chocolate bar with RuPaul's face on it. That's it. It's not. They don't even have a fun name.
Oh my God.
There's no fun name. But there's really no other Wonka. Like the premiere was themed after arcades. So
they're just like they got a hat and they wrote ideas down and they're being like, yeah, why not do it all?
Welcome to Drag Race. Yep, that's Drag Race. welcome to Drag Race.
Oh, Felicia, I'm sweating in here. It's getting a little hot. What's going on?
Would you say it's warming up? Did you eat any undisclosed small little candies?
Yeah, I found them on my porch. I thought, fuck it, I'm gonna eat it. Is something wrong?
Oh, Elaine.
Oh no! Wait, no,
Elaine, no.
it's so hot. I'm so sweaty.
No, I think she may have taken a warming candy. Welcome to our first chapter review of Warming Candies by Roald Dahl.
That was such an intense switch.
This takes place, I think, post Veruca Salt and Augustus Gloop is when this chapter is set in the book. But the problem is this was when Roald Dahl still was like, I want to have 20 evil children in this book. So Warming Candy Room opens with Grandpa Joe telling Charlie, be careful, behave yourself, because about 5 kids, they're already dead. So this is it's getting intense already. Damn. But this is still relatively early in the story. Do you know what I mean? However, Charlie, he's like, oh my God, I'm so excited. This is going to be amazing. Like, this is going to be so cool. The Warming Candy Room. What even is that? So Wonka goes and says, did you guys know warming candy? It's my new item and it's heading to the shop next week. So Roald Dahl provides us with a little bit of description of the Warming Candy Room. That is, the Warming Candy Room looked more than anything else like the engine room of a gigantic old-fashioned ship. There were turbines humming and great pistons going up and down, and men were climbing about high up on steel ladders, and there were wheels and pipes and pressure gauges and dials, and in the middle of it, there was an enormous gleaming silver-colored boiler with 5 white-hot jets of flame playing upon its sides. So that's kind of a description of the room. And basically the process for making a warming candy is insane. The liquid is passed very slowly through this powerful machine, and as it goes through, the machine puts into it an unbelievable amount of heat, and it makes it hotter than anything has ever been before in the world, which doesn't seem safe. That seems incredibly dangerous. I'm picturing like hot glass, like glass blowing glass.
Ooh. And
as a secret, when the liquid finally comes out, 1 drop at a time into the open air, starts to cool down very quickly. There's so much heat in it that there's never time for all of it to escape. And then, by a magic process, as the pellet rolls across the floor, the hot heat changes into an amazing thing called cold heat.
What the fuck?
This really feels like Roald Dahl came up with the warming candies idea and was so focused on making a justification for its existence and was like, and I guess a magical process, but realizes he can't figure out a way to make it work. So the parents of the kids responded in a very similar way as you and I, which is, what the fuck? What do you mean? And the parents are all like, there's no such thing as cold heat. I'm a biology teacher and I've never heard of cold heat. And Wonka said, well, there wasn't cold heat until I came along. Wink, 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 wink. You know what I mean? Like, which he really says the same thing all the time. It's the same formula as all the other chapters.
I'm an ingenue and I created all of my things myself. Firsty worst is me. Number one is his
Did
vibe.
you say, were you trying to say entrepreneur?
And I did say ingenue. I'm just gonna work with it. I was really hoping we'd just move past that.
So Wonka basically is like, here's what this candy does. You just eat it when you need to get warm. And he said, why? You can actually stand out in the snow on a freezing day with no clothes at all. And just so long as you're sucking one of these tiny sweets, you'll feel as warm as toast.
Is this Wonka's excuse to walk around naked in the winter?
It really does feel like that. He's like, no, I got warming candies. Do you understand? If I put on clothes, I'd be sweaty. And they're all like, okay, but there's public indecency laws, sir. And then Wonka's like, well, I'd give you all some, but it's not cold, so that'd be stupid. And here's the question I have. It is explicitly hot. It is the summertime in this chapter. It is referenced that it is summertime. Why the fuck are they hitting shelves if it is the summertime? This should be a seasonal candy only, because there's no way, one, that this is FDA approved, and two, like, it's like you don't carry hot hands hand warmers in the middle of the summer. Like, maybe internationally he's sending it to cold parts of the globe, which, like, fine, but he doesn't say that, and it's Wonka, so you know it's going to the shop down the street. Like, it's not, and he doesn't say, like, oh, it'll be in shops in cold parts of the world tomorrow. He says, no, it will be in shops. And it's like, okay, if you're saying it's dangerous to eat when it's hot out, why are you selling it in the summer?
Yeah, I'm thinking, like, this one sounds like it would have a lot of health ramifications. Because, like, heat strokes are already a problem. I don't think I want to feel internally warm from something else either, to that extent. Like, because that feels different than an external warm.
Yeah.
Like, what if your kidneys get fried? Like, that'd be a real bummer.
There's a lot of problems.
Human omelet.
You wouldn't be able to notice if you got a fever if you were taking these. Like, you just wouldn't. There's so many issues. Like, I don't mind an internal...
would you start hallucinating? If you're, like, that hot, it would be like a fever, like you said, right? So would you start hallucinating while you're naked in the snow?
Probably.
Like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind an internal warming. Like, I'm drinking my ginger tea that I drink every time we do the podcast. But
you're a good old cup of internal warming just to wind down.
We get to the meat and potatoes of the chapter, the evil little Wonka children. The first character we get introduced to is Clarence Crump, who says, it's all baloney. So he doesn't believe Wonka. And then a second boy, whose name is Bertie Upside, says, baloney's right. You could eat a sack full of that junk and you wouldn't feel any hotter. So we got Clarence Crump and Bertie Upside. And then we get the third boy called Terrence Roper. So this is the thing. In this original version, Roald Dahl's knocking them all out at once. He's like, I don't get to spend a chapter on a kid. We're hitting 3 of these motherfuckers with the warming candy.
Damn. Also, I'm sorry. Sack of bologna is
He did
horrifying.
not say sack of bologna. He never said sack of bologna.
I thought you said sack of bologna. He's like, you could eat a whole sack of bologna. And nothing would happen. You wouldn't feel any warmer.
Is right. You could eat a sack full of that junk and you wouldn't feel any hotter.
Yeah, a sack full. Oh, the junk is not the bologna, it's the candy. I was like, have you eaten a whole sack of bologna and you can report back on this?
Why did we change to bologna?
I'm so confused. This makes sense. Okay. Roald Dahl, you need to write better so it's clear. Thanks.
And then Terrence Roper says, why don't we prove it? Whereupon all 3 of them ran forward to the heap of little red warming candies and started cramming handfuls of them into their mouths as fast as they could.
Not just one handfuls? Children!
Yeah, so it's absurd. Children. This is also, the most fascinating thing about this is the first time these characters are introduced. Because if they're saying a second boy whose name was Bertie Upside, that means they've never showed up before, which is insane. I think that's funny that Roald Dahl was just inventing kids to kill off within the same chapter. He was just like, I don't know, fucking Birdie Upside. Cool, great. And then they eat them and they're like, this does nothing, you stupid candy man. But then, of course, they all start sweating. And Mr. Wonka says really quietly, even on the coldest day, one little warming candy could be quite enough. But these foolish boys must have eaten 100 each. I'm afraid they're going to be extremely hot. They all get super hot and their faces go red and they're panting and they're like ripping their shirts off and their ties and their jackets, which implies that they're wearing a British school uniform. I don't know what that tells us, but it's something.
Okay.
And then Clarence Crump yells, I'm dying! I can't stand it! And Terrence Roper calls for water, which I think is the first we've heard a kid say, I'm dying. Like, that's
hardcore.
That's dark.
That's hardcore.
And then Mr. Wonka said, they'll get over it in time, flicking his fingers in the direction of the boys. A white-coated assistant came in, and Wonka said to him, put these 3 boys in the large refrigerator for a few hours, will you please? This ought to cool them off. And out they went, with their parents following them, fanning and fluttering all about and calling Mr. Wonka all sorts of horrid names which he did not deserve. He did deserve them. The biggest thing to unwrap from this chapter is the white-coated assistant. This is pre-Oompa Loompa. There was an age where Oompa Loompas didn't exist. And imagine what bliss we could be living in now.
If he just had like actual little like
bioengineers.
Yeah.
Just like chemist minions. Wouldn't that be more fun?
Interns.
Interns, yes. He would not pay them. He would not pay them. Unpaid interns.
But they get their little college credit, so it's totally fair.
I also like that they said, calling Mr. Wonka all sorts of horrid names which he did not deserve, which is kind of an overstep of the narrator, I feel like. I feel like he kind of like, here's the thing. He's not technically in the wrong, but also why the fuck did he make that candy in the first place? He knows somebody's going to eat 2 of them and end up with a heart attack. Like, it's not...
Like, why did the children take handfuls is my only question here. If
this would have this product is known to cause cancer in the state of California on it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Very much.
And then people would, they would do that thing at schools where schools got rid of soda. And so the parents came in with like Mountain Dews and trash food and met their children at the fence of the school and would hand them stuff through the fence because it's their goddamn right to let their kids eat Twinkies.
But here's the way the chapter ends. At that point, all the workers put down their oiling cans and spanners and screwdrivers and began chanting over and over and over again. 5 little children were shown something new. 3 of them got much too sick, and then there were 2. 5 little children were shown something new. 3 of them got much too sick, and then there were 2. 5 little children were shown something new. 3 of them got much too sick, and then there were 2. Which is so much fucking scarier than the Oompa Loompas.
Jesus Christ.
An army of adults who are just workers doing
And they're all wearing white coats. I'm sensing
chanting.
Chanting. This is a
chanting.
Cult. The whole "and then there were 2" is so ominous as well.
I know, truly. It's like, did you practice this? It's like, wait, Wonka has a hive mind. It's like the Sweet Life on Deck movie, and he pushes a little button in his brain. No, he doesn't push a button in his brain.
He fed them a little peppermint, and that peppermint was the chip, so it's like in the bloodstream. It's in their head.
Yes.
And he love it.
He like pushes a little button that's on his cane, and then they all like snap up from their work and go, 5 little children were shown something new. And Grandpa Joe's like, ooh, yikes, that's a little rough, isn't it, Charlie? And Charlie's like, what? This is incredible. I've always wanted to control the population. But you know what? This reminds me of your fan fiction with the whole like Wonka's new chocolatier program that you wrote about.
Yeah, the apprenticeship program.
That's what this feels like.
It's like instead of the what is it? The Hippocratic Oath is what medical professionals have to take. They just learn all these chants about how bad children are and then how to get rid of the bad ones. So you just keep the good ones, and they have to memorize
like,
this.
Hey, Wonka, when are we going to use this? You famously never had visitors. And Wonka's like, no reason. It's a team building exercise. Wink, 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 wink. You know,
it costs $10,000 to join, and then there's a $3,000 annual fee as well. So
So after reading this chapter, which is available on the Roald Dahl archive from the Roald Dahl Museum and House, so I'll leave a little link in the description. Read it for yourself. It is worth it. Takes about 5 minutes. But they had some links to some extra resources about the lost chapters, and honestly, they weren't too fruitful, as I knew a lot of the lore behind the books. But this one article that was about Roald Dahl biographer Donald Sturrock, who was talking about this chapter and Roald Dahl's agent. So I just want to say, let us all thank Sheila St. Lawrence, who she had a lot to do with the final outcome of the novel. And he said that her general rule to him was to take things out, because the original story was kind of a detective story, and there were all sorts of different crazy episodes. And Sheila was largely responsible for encouraging Dahl to just focus on the fun of being in the factory and flesh out the 5 main characters more, rather than having little cameos for 20 children. Which I appreciate that she did that, but part of me also feels like I would enjoy this version of the novel better, where it's just like, I don't know, there's random kids and they're just dying, have fun. Do you know what? Like, it
could have been Lord of the Flies and Candyland.
Oh, that would have been incredible.
Gosh.
All right, but that's what I got for the Warm and Candy Room. So
lovely. How would you rank it overall?
I would say, in the scheme of what? Like, what am I comparing it to?
How about in terms of, like, as a separate piece of art? Did it intrigue you? Did you want to know more?
Yeah, I did enjoy this. I do think it wasn't great.
Yeah,
it was like,
there's
fine.
A reason it got deleted. Not as creative, I will say.
It's creative, but there is a certain thing of there's only so many. The chapters very much follow a formula, and it's kind of just the same formula over and over again. And I don't think it's as memorable as some of the others.
Sick names, I will say.
Tag yourself. If you had to be named Clarence Crump, Bertie Upside, or Terrence Roper, which one would you pick? And we know it's not going to be Terrence Roper. So Clarence Crump, Bertie Upside, which one are you picking?
Yeah, I'm Clarence Crump all the way.
All right, I'll be Bertie Upside. I'm fine with that.
Hey, Bertie, what's up, side?
All righty, Clarence. Woo!
I'm a 60-year-old 5-year-old.
60-year-old 5-year-old. That's my new favorite. So you're a 5-year-old that's mentally 60.
Yes. I hate kids my own age, and I'm over it all. I'm over it. Leave me alone. Get off my land. Family, stop talking to me, you pieces of shit. No one grew up to be what they should have been. Lawyers, doctors, taking over the family business. It's really hard being, I guess that's almost
the boss
like
baby.
The boss
you
baby,
keep accidentally making the boss baby. You've
and
done
I've
this like 3
never
times
seen
where you remake the boss baby character. I've also never seen it, but this has happened multiple times at this point on the podcast.
It just makes me sad. It's like, I guess I'm a sucky creative person. I can only think of things of like, and of all the plot lines in the world, boss baby is probably one of the lamer ones. It's a baby who wears suits and I guess does transactions. I don't know. It's like Wolf of Wall Street in diapers.
It's a baby who manages transactions.
Which is honestly sometimes I feel like I'm just a baby managing transactions at work. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Aren't we all just babies managing transactions? When we get down to it, aren't we all really just boss babies on the inside? Boss
Who needs to be a girl boss when you can be a boss baby? Let's discuss another chapter, Felicia.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited.
We're going to talk about Spotty Powder, and honest to God, this was amazing. In my mind, I fucking loved it because this is possibly one of the darker Wonka things I think I've heard. Even listening to Warming Candy, that had some absurdness. These are almost, I feel like, on the same level. We'll have to see how we feel at the end.
Yeah.
But reading this was a journey.
You can find Spotty Powder in the book The Missing Golden Ticket, which I talked about a little bit in an earlier episode. It is in there, so if you want to read it, I'll leave a link to the book in the description. Check it out from your library if you have it.
Basically, we have Spotty Powder. When you start off, you're like, is this going to be weirdly about cocaine? Because I don't know, Roald Dahl hasn't really hit on hard drugs yet. And I just thought this is finally going to be it. This is going to be the time where he's like, children do heroin. It's fun because Wonka gave it out. It's how all the children will always love my candy is that I've drugged it.
Children,
but alas,
I do hate cereal, but you know what I don't hate? Special K. Oh, it's like, whoa.
Cocaine, but the cane is underlined because he loves canes. Okay. Moving on from
we
that.
can make these jokes for 45 minutes, and that's the worst part.
That's the really sad thing.
We nip that in the bud.
So in this chapter, we kind of discussed in the our mini-sode about
Vitamin Wonka, but it's just ecstasy. Anyway.
We talked about some of the missing children, and Miranda Piker, I believe, came up.
Yeah, Miranda Piker.
Miranda Mary Piker. And her whole deal is that she's basically this stuck-up teacher's pet, always wants to follow the rules and thinks she's better than everyone. And her father is basically a criminal. He's possibly the worst person he could be in Roald Dahl's eyes because he's a headmaster. Horrifying. And I think that it became so much clearer how much Roald Dahl hated school. It wasn't just the cane trauma. It wasn't just like, oh, whatever. Like when you read this, you go, do you hate the school system? What's happening here? So the main premise as we start out is you go into this room, and again, there are a bunch of pipes kind of like bent over like walking sticks, they say. So I was really excited, like I said, about this being cocaine because this is what Roald Dahl wrote. Out of every pipe, there trickled a stream of white crystals. Hundreds of Oompa Loompas were running to and fro, catching the crystals in little golden boxes and stacking the boxes against the walls. Spotty Powder, exclaimed Mr. Wonka, beaming at the company. This is it. That's the stuff. Fantastic stuff. And then the little girl goes like, "It right, okay." And I'm like, "Are you like you made your own Coke?" Is what I like. There's no way this isn't it. Okay, so Elaine Bess getting real excited. Okay, Miranda Piker goes like,
"This makes it sound like you're a cocaine addict, Elaine. I want you to know that this is how that's sounding."
Oh, I realize I am not a cocaine addict. I like the idea of Wonka being a drug dealer.
Gotcha.
2 different vibes.
Okay, good clarification, because you kept saying Elaine Best is getting very excited about the cocaine mentions, and I'm like, okay, but this makes it sound a little bit like you do cocaine regularly.
This is why it's really good that I like. There's a co-host here because I do a lot of solo podcasts, and like I wouldn't have caught that in the moment, and then you know. So anyway, so the whole point is like it looks like sugar, and someone mentions that, and Wonka goes, "Oh yeah, it's meant to look like sugar, and it tastes like sugar." But it isn't sugar. Oh, dear me, no. And I'm like, okay, so you're running this underground drug deal. We're making it look like it's sugar, but you're secretly sending these packs of Coke across the nation.
Right.
So, and I'm sorry, I have to keep reading this because it's just the best way to do this. So, someone's like, okay, well then what the fuck is this? And it's Miranda Piker who, Roald Dahl says is speaking rather rudely. So that door over there, said Mr. Wonka, turning away from Miranda and pointing to a small red door at the end of the room, leads directly down to the machine that makes the powder. Twice a day, I go down there myself to feed it, but I'm the only one. Nobody ever comes with me. And the door has a little sign that says, most secret, keep out. Most secret, keep out. And to me, I was like,
is he grinding bones down?
It sounds like it reminded me of the Babadook. Have you seen the Babadook? Babadook. Like he's going down there to feed the Babadook.
Like the fucking basement that Hannibal Lecter has in the TV show where he just keeps like a big snail farm where it's like,
God.
It's like, you don't go down there. That's my secret room. And there's just like people in a little cage. And he's like, time to make the powder again. See, the Spotty Powder machine isn't a machine. It's a person. That's the real horror.
Well, What we never know because you're going to find out. And so what this Spotty Powder actually is, it's a way to get out of school. And it's interesting because we know Wonka hates cereal, and yet Wonka says all you have to do is sprinkle it over your cereal at breakfast time, pretending it's sugar. So also, I think I've heard of this, but did you ever put sugar on top of your sugar cereal?
To be fair, I think back in the day, in like the 70s, they were eating like fucking cornflakes. Like they were not eating what we have nowadays. You know what I mean?
That's fair. Okay, I'll give them that. But
you're just homemaking Honey Nut Cheerios by putting sugar on it. You know what I mean?
Okay. But he says after you sprinkle it on your sugar cereal, whatever the fuck it is, and then exactly 5 seconds after that, you come out in bright red spots all over your face and neck. And then Miranda Piker cusses. She goes, what sort of a silly ass wants spots on his face at breakfast time? Which I like the specificity. I like the specific time frame she implies. But Wonka immediately interrupts her. He's like, let me finish. So the idea is that your mom's looking at you and then she's like, fuck, you got chicken pox. I guess you can't go to school. And then you just stay home. But by lunchtime, all your spots have disappeared. So it's the classic, like you put the thermometer by the light bulb so it gets hotter. But instead you just look like you've been attacked by the plague. Charlie is weirdly excited about this. And he's like, I want to use that on the day we have exams. And Wonka goes, that's the ideal time to use it. But you can't overuse it. Otherwise, everyone's going to catch on to our little secret. I'm like, our children, because there's no way your kid, like your parent's going to buy this for you. You're not going to be like, can you buy the get out of the Spotty Powder to get me out of here?
Get out of school free card.
Yeah. And so Miranda Piker's over here and she's like, Father, how can they allow this? As a headmaster, you got to put a stop to this. And the headmaster, rightfully so in my mind, goes, this is criminal. You're going to ruin the school system of the entire country. Wonka goes, I hope so. I'm like, wait, hold the fuck up. So it's like, Wonka not only, has children leaving school at some point to buy all these tickets, they're hardly getting any education. And part of me, again, with this cult vibe, I'm like, he doesn't want people to be educated so he can better control them. And he, this whole thing with, I want a child to take over because grown-ups won't listen to me. This is getting really fucking creepy. Miranda apparently also doesn't want holidays or vacations to be a thing. So at this point, I'm like, yeah, she can fucking go, but I think the dad's fine. They then proceed to do the most radical, somewhat probably out of character thing. I know we haven't read anything else about her, but this just seems really out of the blue. Instead of being like, oh, we're going to take you to court and deal with this, they basically Les Mis it up and start to just fucking run at this door. And they're like, let's come then, father. Let's go down into the cellar and smash the machine that makes this dreadful stuff. And Mr. Piker goes forward, brandishing his cane and making a dash for the little red door. I'm like, this is really dramatic. And it's the most proactive thing we have seen from any child or parent in this thing. Usually it's a reaction of like, oh no, what to do? I don't know. And these people are like, fuck your system. We're going to break it, bitch.
There's a recognizing of Wonka as a threat in this chapter that I appreciate.
Yes. Yeah.
This is the best chapter of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Why did they cut it?
Hands down. And it's probably because the people who are supposed to be bad are actually in the right. Very much so. Yeah. Apparently, we learned that Miranda's mom is also here. And so she's just like, they're all chilling like, oh, this is awkward. They don't really talk about what the group is doing while these people are screaming. Basically, they bust through the door and then there's a moment of silence and you hear nothing. And then far off in the distance, from somewhere deep underground, there came a fearful scream. That's my husband, cried Mrs. Piker, going blue in the face. There was another scream. And that's Miranda, yelled Mrs. Piker, beginning to hop around in circles. What's happening to them? What have you got down there, you dreadful beast? Nothing much. Mr. Wonka answered, just a lot of cogs on wheels and chains and things like that, all going round and round and round and round. And then Mrs. Parker yells, you villain! I know your tricks! You're grinding them into powder. So at this point, clearly, more kids have dropped off. And the fact that, like, again, I think these people are, like, they probably knew too much, and that's why they got cut from the book, because, you know, and why are these people the only ones who've caught on? And then Charlie, it just makes it sad to think that Charlie and Grandpa Joe win due to ignorance at this point. You know what I mean? Like, they win because they are the most gullible, which makes it sad.
And that sounds like they almost explicitly died.
Yeah, well, okay. And then here's one of my favorite things is that Wonka makes a very inappropriate joke, but because it's Wonka, it seems a little too real. So they're a very violent pairing, Miranda and Mr. Piker. And something Wonka says, like, Mrs. Piker's like, oh no, what's going to happen to them? And Wonka goes, we've got to use one or two schoolmasters occasionally, or the Spotty Powder wouldn't work. He's like, I need a human sacrifice, otherwise the powder doesn't work. And then for like a whole paragraph, Mrs. Piker's like, what the fuck? And then later he's like, oh, I was just joking. And I'm like, you weren't fucking joking.
Yeah.
That's not a joke.
I was
That's
like,
the same way
he grinds their bones. No, I think he might actually.
Like, he at one point was like, they're not screaming, they're laughing. Spotty Powder has no side effect of laughter. I would accept it if this powder would, like, make you giggle if you had too much, and then maybe they have a laughing fit, and then that would be their demise, is they can't stop laughing. Like, that would have been fun and silly.
Scary.
But no, the scream to laughter has no like, there's nothing leading from it. He's just going, they're laughing, not screaming.
What I was picturing when you originally wrote that is they opened the door. Not wrote that. You did not write this. I'm sorry for implying that you wrote this.
Thank you.
When you originally read that, rather than them going into the chamber, I pictured them opening the door and just staring at the entrance and going blank-faced because of whatever horrors they saw inside. And they were permanently traumatized from the experience, which really scared me. I was really into it, and I was like, oh my God.
Freaking terrifying.
That's almost scarier than them just getting ground up in a powder.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. It's ooh,
just
okay.
All that rage.
We need to move on because that's spooky. All that rage, I don't like that at all, and I hate that that's a thing.
The rage that they go and then they go back down. Anyway, I think that chapter was incredible. That was amazing,
and it ends. It ends with an Oompa Loompa song. We get a full Oompa Loompa song, so no technicians. And just my favorite quote that, again, you know, Wonka's like, it's a joke, but why then would the Oompa Loompas sing, soon this child who is so vicious will have gotten quite delicious? Is Wonka a cannibal?
Yeah, it really does seem like it this chapter.
What is happening about that? Anyway, so to me, my overall thought on that chapter, again, is that Roald Dahl hated education. He wanted to brutally murder them, and I think this was a little like a dark thought he probably had growing up, and he finally got to release it out there, and then it was like, oh, this is too close. Like, he probably went to school with someone named Miranda.
This is scary.
It's spooky. And then imagine, though, Felicia, you found this, and the original document is written backwards because he just fucking wanted. Do we even know why he did that?
Yeah, I don't think everybody. I don't know if we've actually explained this. This was discovered written backwards, like handwritten in a mirror. Like, you have to hold it up to a mirror to read it. Why did he do that?
Why did this, of all things, need to be sacred? Like, I think he probably had some paranoia. And because he was a spy, right? He used to be a spy during World War II. I'm not making that. I didn't know if that was a fever dream or something. So I'm wondering if that just like stuck. But I'm like, who is going to be? I mean, now when you read it, you're like, that is a little fucked up. Like, if no one knew you were writing the rest of the book and you just found that chapter, I think some people would be like, I don't know, but it is very suspicious that he did a lot to hide the content of this. So I definitely, in my opinion, think this is one of the best chapters, and I would have loved to have it be expanded. I think it adds such a terrifying level to Wonka, and just goes to show how much more idiotic everyone else is on the tour. Like, I can't root for Charlie at that point. I feel bad for him.
Yeah, I will say one thing after reading both of these chapters, I was reminded of a passage in the original novel. So they're in the glass elevator and they pass a bunch of places, such as an enormous spout with brown sticky stuff oozing off of it onto the floor, which I think is a nod to the warming candy room, right?
That sounds right. Yeah.
And then there's the Fudge Mountain, which there is another deleted chapter called the Vanilla Fudge Room, which we haven't covered just because we decided to pick these this episode. So that's what Fudge Mountain's in reference to. And then a machine with white powder spraying out of it like a snowstorm.
Oh, shit.
So all of those and the Hot Caramel Lake are all references to the original chapters, which I think is actually pretty cool. Like, I think that's a fun little nod. He said, I don't want to get rid of these completely. I like them. So he put them in there, which is good. But yeah, I like the Spotty Powder. It's horrifying, but it's good. And I'm kind of sad we never got to see that put on film.
I know. We're sinister people, aren't we?
Yeah, that's actually something I've been wanting to talk to you about, because you often on the podcast accuse me of taking it dark places, but as being the person who edits it, every time I re-listen, you are the one who escalates it. Because who was the person who during the Hunger Games episode suggested Mel Stewart wore other people's skin? Elaine. Who was the person during that episode who spent a minute brutally describing her death to the point that I had to bleep it out? Elaine. Who was the one who insisted that the Wonka well is where we climb up on people's bodies to escape? Also Elaine. Like, I've had my moments, but like, you always are like, oh, Felicia, you take it dark places, but you're the one who involves like death and I'm never there. I am never there. Well, okay, I was there once with the Timothy Chalamet action figure, but that was one time. Okay, like, it's not as common as you make it out to seem. You are the instigator more times than I am.
I think what it more is you consume the media of the darker stuff, and I don't really, aside from I love a good docuseries on cults and things related to that.
Yeah.
But I don't read horror books. I hate horror films. Like, I'm not about that, and that's kind of like more up your alley. So I'm not really sure where this is coming from for me. I do worry that I'll be framed for murder one day because I talk about it so much. I think about this all the fucking time. And I just need everyone to know I have bad follow through. So I also don't want to kill anyone. I have a lot. There's actually a lot more reasons. Well, I absolutely loved reading those chapters. And now that we've continued to consume more of this canon, Felicia, I would love to know, do you have a prediction for the Wonka prequel?
Maybe we get a moment of Wonka skipping out a day of school.
Ooh, that'd be cute,
right? I feel like that could happen. That's reasonable.
That could happen.
That's
because there's something
that's reasonable.
And then I'm gonna piggyback off of your prequel prediction. Sorry, I had a moment. I think I agree. He's gonna skip school, but it's because there's this event that's happening that his parents will let him go to. So he has to sneak out and he's going to go there. And that's going to be a big turning point in his chocolatier career. Oh. He's going to finally see one person who maybe tried something.
To a candy store opening.
Yes. And he watches someone make fudge for the first time. And then he just casually goes, what if you added the rhubarb in there? And the fudgeteer, I don't know, the baker looks at him and goes, my God. That's an amazing idea. And then that's like the first spark of like, oh, I might be onto something as a little baker boy.
I love that.
Well, Wonka Will, thank you for listening to this episode. We greatly appreciate it. If you would like to help support our chaos, our candy-coated chaos, you can buy us a chocolate bar. We'll have a link in the description. It's called what's the link?
It's buymeacoffee.com/Wonka Watch.
Perfect.
We've got the link in our description. We've been talking recently in episodes about Listener Palooza. If you are listening to this episode, we have already recorded Listener Palooza. So if you send anything from now on and it's not in the episode, we're not ignoring you. We just already recorded it. So
yes, and we still want it, and we're going to do another one. So don't not send it.
They're gonna be every once in a while. It's not a one-time occasion. But yeah, if you do have any thoughts or concerns, suggestions, anything you want to talk to us about, send us an email at wonkarapture@gmail.com.
Make sure you follow us We love it. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Wonka Watch.
You could probably review us on Apple Podcasts. That is always helpful.
Ooh, that'd be fun. We'll read it out if it's nice.
Oh my God, we'll read some nice reviews.
We'll read some nice reviews out. We can start doing. Oh my gosh, I love when we get to do a planning meeting as part of an episode.
Mid-episode.
Mid-episode, we're like, oh wait, sorry, can we go through our content calendar real quick? But anyway, hey Felicia, it's not that important.
Oh my God, it's not that important at all. Isn't that so liberating? It's free.
Get out of here. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Get out. Get out of my house.